Yo, what's going on, guys? And today we're doing another movie review. We're doing today Guardians of the Galaxy 2. It came out on the 28th of April, which was yesterday, if you're watching it on the day I released this. So I've literally just come back from watching the film. Don't mind that, it's a cold sore, I've been ill, and I get them when I'm ill or overtired. If I look over this way, it's because on my other screen I've got the actors' names, just in case I forget them. Like Gamora, who's like Star-Lord's girlfriend, she's green, so you can't really tell who she is. But anyway, we'll start off with plot summary. Yeah, last time I did a movie review, I reviewed Fast and Furious 8, go check it out. It's the last video uploaded, and it was my first ever review, and I had some constructive criticism on it, but yeah, I think today's will be better. So we'll start off with the plot summary, in my opinion. Now, it starts off with the Guardians doing what they did in Volume 1. They were doing jobs for money. They helped out the Sovereignty. I'm just trying to remember, I think that's right. The gold people, for anyone that doesn't know. They're protecting these important batteries that sell for a lot of money from this interdimensional, is it interdimensional, like big thing, big monster who's trying to get the batteries. Anyway, when they're getting their reward, which was Gamora's sister, Nebula, yeah, Nebula, the High Priest, pretty sure that's right, I'm just looking, doesn't say, great, but the High Priest mentions about Star-Lord's heritage, and if you haven't seen the first one, Star-Lord doesn't know his dad. He never met his dad. He knew his mum, who was from Missouri, which it shows a man and a woman in Missouri from 1980, and it goes 34 years in the future, which is present day. Should have probably led with that. But, so they mention that, and no one thinks too much of it. When they're flying away from the Sovereignty, it turns out that loads of Sovereignty fighter planes are coming after them, the Guardians, because it turns out that Rocket has nicked some of their batteries. So that happens, and then they have to go through a atomic asteroid thing, or nuclear asteroid. It's an asteroid field, but like a more dangerous one. When they get out of there, there's still loads of these Sovereignty planes, and then one ship just takes all of them out. No one really knows who it is, but they carry on going, and they land on the nearest habitable planet, which they do. And when they land there, because their ship's already took damage, they've had a bad landing, and then so they get out the plane, their ship, and another ship lands, which turns out to be the same ship that saved them from the Sovereignty fighter planes, ships, whatever you want to say. And it turns out it is Ego, Kurt Russell, okay, that's the actor's name. It turns out he's Star-Lord's dad. Yeah. So they go into the ship, they talk a bit of persuading for Star-Lord to go in from Gamora, but they went in and spent a few days. Then Rocket stays with the ship with Baby Groot and Nebula. They stay on the ship to repair it when they get attacked from Yondu's, is it Rustlers? See, I'm really bad at this. I think it's Rustlers, something like that. When they get attacked, and Rocket does well, he wipes a lot of them out, but then Yondu gets to him. Then he says he's not going to kill them. He's not going to kill them for the reward money, he's gonna just like let him go, but they'll take the batteries, there we go, that Rocket still has. But then the Rustlers, I really hope I'm saying it right, Yondu's crew, they rebel against him, they take over his ship, they keep him, Rocket and Baby Groot a prisoner. They manage to break out in a pretty epic fight scene. They get out and then they go to Ego, the planet, which turns out to be Kurt Russell's character. He is Ego. I'll click on it. Okay, I'll click on it and I'll see what it says. It's just popping up with the actor. Great. So he is the planet essentially, and he's immortal. And it turns out that Star-Lord got half of this power, and Ego needs this power to help him succeed in what he wanted to do, which was to take over the whole universe, really. Universe, is that right? All the planets. He wanted to do that, but he wasn't solely powerful enough to do it, so he had to get Star-Lord. Star-Lord refused to, because it turns out that Ego, I'm going to call Kurt Russell's character Ego. I'll call him the living form of Ego. So the living form of Ego killed Star-Lord's mother because he was getting too attached and he couldn't really. So then Star-Lord refuses to help him, and then they have a massive fight. It's not just him, so the Guardians have a massive fight with Yondu. Yondu helps them out with one of his crew, Kraglin. Look there. So they have a massive fight scene, and then it looks like, I'm not going to go into too much detail, they just had to go into like Ego's core, where Ego's living form's brain was, and they had to blow that up, and there was a bit of comedy there with Baby Groot having to set off the explosives, really do it right, and there was a bit of humour because he wasn't, when Rocket was explaining it to him, he couldn't relay the message back. But so everyone gets away apart from Yondu and Star-Lord. They have to stay. Rocket takes the decision to leave without them, so they've left without them, and everyone thinks they're dead. But just as it explodes, Yondu had one of the jetpack things, it's not a jetpack, that Rocket gave him, and also a device that would allow you to breathe in space, essentially. So, well, like not get absolutely obliterated. So they went up. Yondu unfortunately dies, saving Star-Lord. Then he has his funeral. There's a bit of flirting between Star-Lord and Gamora, them both acknowledging there's some sort of connection with him, but they didn't want to admit it. Then I'm just thinking what else happened. I haven't mentioned Drax much. Drax is funny throughout the film. I'm just thinking of what happened at the end. So it's just really their funeral, and the original Rustlers, please tell me Rustlers is correct, they get together, so Sylvester Stallone, and I don't know, I'll have a look. So Novo Corps, and it's not popping up with any of the others, so I apologise for that. So what I'm going to do now is I'll do what's good and bad about the main characters. So what's good about Star-Lord is how humorous he is, his connections with the other characters. He's funny, as I've mentioned, and he's quite badass with the battling that goes on. Bad side, nothing I wouldn't say. I couldn't think of any faults with him. Groot, Baby Groot, good with, well, you can't really understand what he's saying, gets translated by Rocket. What's good with Groot is he's just cute, isn't he, really? He's funny. Even though you don't understand what he's saying, his actions are funny. Then we have Gamora. Gamora is like, she's badass. I'm using the word badass a lot and I don't really use that. She's just, within herself, she doesn't want to express her feelings or anything. Drax, very funny. He laughs at everything and his laugh is infectious. Then we'll go to Rocket. Rocket's funny because he takes the mick out of Taserface, one of Yondu's crew members, and Rocket's just one of the funniest characters. I would say him and Groot, in my opinion, or Baby Groot. Then, shall I go? I'll do Yondu, and then I'll leave it there. Yondu, he's funny as well. I don't think I'm doing these character analysis is very good, but he's funny, but he can also seem like a bit of a dick, just like Rocket can. Then I'll do Ego as well. He seems nice at first, but then it turns out he's just a massive dick. I would give the film 9 out of 10 because it's just really good. The plot it kept you on the edge of your seat. You didn't really know you did know what was happening, but you couldn't predict what was going to happen next, which was good. The music I thought was really good. The music was put into places where it was just so appropriate, and it just linked together so well. And the humour, they were the 3 best things. Well, and the fourth would be the characters. The characters were very good. If I could say one, I'll give one negative. They focused on Ego as a planet too much, and Ego the living form. It seemed like that was what they wanted to focus on, but they made that section too long. I thought there was a lot of waffling. I think you could have shrunk it and it would have done better, maybe added something else in. So I would say shrink the Ego, well, like the second half of the film. Hope you guys enjoy this. Please like and subscribe. Comment if you've seen this film, what you give it out of 10, and also comment saying how I can improve these analyses of, well, reviews of the films, and tell me whether I've improved from the last one. And yeah, peace.